Welcome to Rose City Politics. We are so very happy to have a member of the government here today for this special episode that we're putting out. We have Minister Monte McNaughton, who is currently serving as the Minister of Labor, Training, and Skills Development in Ontario. Thank you for joining us today, Minister.
Well, it's great to be on your show. And of course, Windsor is close to home for me. So great to join viewers and listeners across Southwestern Ontario.
And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day for this. We are talking, of course, today about paid sick leave. It's a topic that has come up not only across the political spectrum, but also, of course, through media and through, private interest groups who have been pushing for this issue. We have spoken with leaders of all of the opposition parties who of course, are making a strong push for this. The government of Ontario's message that we have heard publicly has been that the federal government is providing it and that it is acceptable in that form and that is enough. So we wanted to provide you with this opportunity, Minister, to come on and let us know what your perspective is on this as the minister. So please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Certainly, the health and safety of every single worker and the public at large has been our government's top priority from day one. The very first initiative that we undertook when COVID-19 hit Ontario was to bring in job protected leave for workers across the province. I actually introduced legislation, I think it was last March. And what it does, it tells every single worker out there if they're in self-isolation, if they're in quarantine, if you're a mom or dad staying home and looking after a son or daughter because the schools are closed, you're not going to be fired for that. Furthermore, I also eliminated the need for sick notes. The federal government stepped up. Premier Ford and Prime Minister Trudeau came to an agreement in the summer to provide $1.1 billion in sick pay for workers across the province. This is 10 paid sick days, $500 per week. And it's imperative that the $1.1 billion is dedicated to workers who have to stay home because of COVID-19. We have to make the federal program work.
Now, I appreciate that. And the prior government under Kathleen Wynne, premier at the time, had introduced paid sick leave, and it was this government that had rescinded that. So I guess what I'm just trying to understand is I get what you're saying, that there have been measures that have been taken, and I'm not trying at all to diminish nor disparage those, but there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between what the public is talking about and what the government has done. So why do you think there is that bridge? And maybe what more could the government do to help to identify what measures have been taken while maybe identifying other measures that could still be taken?
Yeah, well, certainly all provinces across the country really followed Ontario in bringing in job protected measures. We were actually the first jurisdiction in North America to bring in job protected legislation during COVID-19. The sick day pay that was in place under the former government was 2 days. What the Prime Minister and the Premier of Ontario agreed upon was 10 paid sick days for workers during COVID-19. I have to say, I have been working the phones quite hard the last couple of weeks. In fact, on Friday, I met with Minister Qualtrough, who's the federal government minister responsible for this program, and I am relaying some of the issues we're hearing with that program to her. I am confident that where there's some issues with this program, that she will take steps to fix it. So, for example, we know that there's still low awareness of the federal sick day program, even though in Ontario, 110,000 workers have either applied or they're receiving the federal sick day program as we speak. We also know and have heard that there's been delays in getting payments. Now, the federal government, to Minister Qualtrough's credit, she says that on average, if it's direct deposit, those payments are going out now within 3 days. So that's good news. So what we have to do, there's $800 million still unspent. If there's improvements to be made because this program is administered through the federal government, let's urge the federal government to make those improvements. That's the approach I'm taking. And don't forget, I mean, all levels of government, whether it's the mayor Drew Dilkins in Windsor, whether it's the provincial government or federal government, we've all worked really, really closely, and we've all poured in literally billions of dollars to help families and small businesses get through this pandemic. There's light at the end of the tunnel when we get to April, and with mass vaccinations, uh, we're getting to the end of this, I hope.
Yeah, we all definitely do. I will certainly be the first one in line when it's my time to walk up to get one and say, "Just jab me in the shoulder. I want that vaccine in me." Um, Now, it's a majority government right now at Queen's Park, so the agenda is set and the government's able to dictate what, you want to happen. But again, with these opposition parties, they're all pushing for one demand, and it's for the provincial government to start spending, their own money on this paid sick leave on top of what the federal government is doing. So just to leave it on that note before I let you get back to your very busy day, how do you look towards, I guess, negotiating or working with the opposition parties, even though, of course, you don't need to? But I mean, you're all working from the same position. Let's get Ontario to the best position that we can be right now before that mass vaccination campaign does begin. So what does that period of working together look like?
Well, I would first say that it's up to every municipal leader, every provincial leader, and federally elected people as well to ensure that everyone is telling workers out there who are in desperate need of income in many places to let them know that this federal program exists. I think it's an injustice to workers out there if, for example, the leader of the Liberals or the leader of the NDP or other MPPs and MPs aren't talking about this program. There's $800 million left unspent, and it's important that we communicate this program. I would say when it comes to working together, I mean, look, in Canada, we're really blessed to be from here. If you look at south of the border during the pandemic, clearly two different stories. In Ontario, I can speak from personal experience. The very first initiative that our government took, the very first bill that we took, is the one that I introduced, which was a job protected leave. So if you're in isolation and quarantine, home looking after a son or a daughter, you can't be fired in Ontario. And I'm proud to say that all parties supported that legislation, and we continue to, take the best ideas we're hearing at home. That's why when I talk to constituents, when I talk to workers across the province who have concerns about the federal sick day program, I get on the phone and I relay the message. And to Prime Minister Trudeau's credit, to Minister Qualtrow's credit, they're responding, and there's been improvements on the sick day program, and I'm confident in the days ahead that they're going to make further improvements to it.
Well, Minister McNaughton, we really appreciate your time today on the show, coming to speak to us about this incredibly pressing issue. I think it's great to see, the Team Canada approach that's been espoused. So seeing it continually being pushed, it's always a positive message. And the opposition, they're going to be there doing what the opposition parties will always do. And we always welcome you back on the show and anyone from the government, because we love to be able to provide that perspective to our audience down here in Windsor, Essex. So, Minister McNaughton, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, anytime, and hello to the people of Windsor, Essex.